Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Image Bearers. I'm your host, Lacey Connor. I am here today with Kristy. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. All right. Before we jump into all about you and learning all the amazing stuff, you being seen, heard, and loved, I'm going to say a prayer. So here we go, guys. Heavenly Father, we thank you, Lord, so much for this day, Lord. We thank you for Kristy today that came to tell us her story, Lord. Lord, may she be seen, heard, and loved, Lord. May your Holy Spirit be in here. Give us both clear speech and clear mind, Lord. And Lord, whatever is said, whatever is done, may it be your glory. And may the people just see Kristy as your image bearer, created in your image, Lord. And although we have hard times, we are not alone in this world, Lord. And I pray for the people that are listening here. Whatever Kristy says, maybe there's one person that could hear this story and know that you are with them and that they are not alone in this world, Lord. That you are with them and that Kristy is here too that has had experience like them. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. All right, Kristy, what's up, girl?
I'm just here to talk about the things that I've done and experiences that I've had over time.
That's all I want you to do, girl. Like I said in the prayer, I just, I always started this podcast with, I felt like a lot of people felt like they were alone and that, like, you're not alone in this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There is somebody. And I also just feel like maybe someone hasn't gone through the same situation you have, but you can put words to an experience they've had or just, like show that, like, maybe they're about to go through something like that or something. It just gives them not being alone. Like, it's so hard in this world. Like, even though we have social media, we are bombarded with tons of people. It's still so crazy how there's like a high risk of like suicide or like people just feeling alone, but there's so much connection.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I feel like people say that social media has separated us, but I see a lot of things that I never maybe would have been able to be exposed to by being able to be on social media. So it's kind of a catch-22. It can do two different things. But I feel like, loneliness is one of the things that everyone feels. And we tell ourselves that we're not supposed to feel negative feelings like loneliness or sadness or any of those things. That was like a huge part of a lot of the struggles that I had before I found the other side of my life, was that I felt like I was always lonely and I was always looking for something to make me feel fuller in my life. And I could never find it.
All right.
And so I think that that's like a big thing for like the human race.
We're
all here looking for something to like make us feel whole.
Right.
And for some people that's God.
Yeah.
That they find God and they're like, this is what makes me feel whole. And for other people, we may define our way differently because maybe we've been through too much stuff with church or whatever.
Yes, I know.
And but it all to me is about the righteousness of what we can do for one another when we care about other people. And showing people that it doesn't have to be that way.
Right.
And it's other human beings that showed me that. So, I mean, I remember being like 18 years old and being like the saddest teenager.
Well, I feel like we always felt that way. Like, dude, we were just, before we got recording this, we were talking about songs that get triggered to us and stuff. And I was in my, like, probably like last week, I was in this, like, thank the Lord for Spotify because it like gives me all my moods and
Love
stuff.
Spotify.
It was in the punk rock phase I was listening to last week. I was in my punk rock phase, and it was back to like Fall Out Boy, like My Chemical Romance, and I was just like, oh yes, but I felt like all the angst, and I was like, who was I? Why was I doing the most and having all the feelings?
I was so sad and angry, and I would never be a part of the machine.
Right, dude. But it just cracked me up because I kept still listening to it because I was like, this is fantastic. But I was like, I am the most hilarious, but that's how to me, that was so real.
Yeah, it's nostalgic, too.
Right? but yes, when we were 18, it's just, you probably had a lot harder 18-year-old life than I did, maybe. I don't know. I read a little bit about you on the internet, but other than that, I go into these interviews kind of blind, so I'm just like, whatever the Lord wants to share, that's what we're doing right now.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I've learned to not compare myself to other
Right,
people
that's true.
because that was a big part of my problem in the first place. Is
Mhm.
I was always like, well, they are doing this and they have this, and I am, you know, kind of felt like I was a loser for a
Right.
long period of time. Like, and it's because I would see what other people were able to do and I couldn't do those things. And so to me, it meant I had a deficit,
Mhm.
that I was unable, incapable. And those mental messages continued to replay in my mind over and over again. And they were almost like self-prophesying, like
Mhm.
self-fulfilling,
Right.
where I just kept digging myself in deeper holes, because I couldn't see a possible way out, or I didn't see myself as worthy
Right.
of a way out, I don't
I know.
think.
It hurts my heart to I mean, like that's how and now I think now that you've got or I guess I can speak for myself and maybe you feel this way. Now that you've gone through it and stuff, you can now be like, we've
Oh,
gone through I see you, I see this and stuff, and it's a real thing, so you can be a lot more empathetic and stuff.
absolutely, and when I look back on it now, I see it as an important part of my journey, like a
Mhm.
necessary part of my life to be who I am today. The people that I work with in my work have experienced extreme trauma,
Mm.
real pain, some horrors that some people may never face. And I sit with them in those moments, and I have empathy for them and try to be with them in those moments. And I'm able to do that because I've been there and I've felt those pains,
Mhm.
and I know what it's like to feel pain, and that's all empathy really is to know what it's like to be a person who's felt pain and be like, "I've felt pain too, and I may not feel your pain right now, but I can sit with you in this and understand that we both have been through things and that you're hurting right now." And it just helps people light up. They when they have a safe space to
Mhm.
be how they are, and they don't have to be okay, then people start to get better. And that space was provided for me, and it showed me that that's what I wanted to be, was a safe space for other people. And it's just when I embraced that message,
Mhm.
that calling, that you are supposed to take what you have been through and give back to other people. And I embraced that, and my life has just become something I can't even believe, honestly.
Right.
And it's amazing and it's wonderful. And I don't consider myself to be a religious person, but at one point in time, I used to go to church, and I went a lot. And my sister still goes often, and we talk about God. And she's like, "You do the work you do. It's God's work." And I'm like, I don't really connect necessarily with that, but I do feel like it's the work that should be done, and that
Right.
that I'm walking in my purpose in this universe, and that's why my life is the way it is right now, and things seem so good for me, is because I'm supposed to help people.
Mhm. I love that, yeah. I mean, I would definitely say I would go with your sister with that, but that's also just because I believe in the Lord and I'm a Christian, and I believe
Absolutely.
the Lord definitely made you to help people and gave you these, hardships and the struggles you went through, and I love that I always say this on the podcast, I don't you made your, pain into purpose or your
Yeah.
mess a message, those
Absolutely.
little
It's a
lines,
testimony, and
right? Yeah,
I've gone and, like, to church, like, I go with my grandmother when I go visit because I love going to her church,
right.
and I give my testimony at
Mhm.
times to people, because it helps people
Oh,
to
yeah.
hear about it, and it helps people to know, because a lot of people follow Christianity, and then maybe something happens and maybe they don't follow it anymore.
Right.
And so it helps people to know that that doesn't mean that you don't love God, or that you don't, because I still feel like that part of me will never go away.
Mhm.
And so it must be connected to me on a different level. I just choose to use different words. I'm always like the universe
Right.
and the spirits, and people are like, yeah, okay, crystal lady. But it's the same.
Yeah.
It's that I believe in a higher spirit than
Mhm.
myself. And I know that is real.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so,
I
and and yet I've still been able to overcome all of these things, and I don't hate
right.
on the Lord.
Well, I appreciate that because there is a lot of people that have had church hurt and there's something and then they turn them fully away from it, which the thing is I understand.
Yeah.
I went through I wouldn't say hardcore church hurt, but I went my middle school, high school years when I needed the church and God and stuff. Christian people that called themselves Christians really did hurt me. Like, they made
Yeah.
me feel like I was, like, just a sin for being a woman and stuff. There was
Yeah.
something wrong with me and
Yeah.
stuff with just that, and, like, times I needed them. And I don't know, there was always something in my heart that made me feel like these are people, not God, kinda thing.
Yeah.
So but I do, like, I have a lot of friends from my Christian school I went to that were hurt the same way, and they turned 100% away from God. But I understand that, and I'm
Yeah.
not like, "Oh, how could you?" and stuff. Like, all I can do is be there for them, and they know where I stand with stuff, but I'm not here to, like, tell them, like, they know, it's not
Yeah.
I'm here to just be there for them. And if they wanna
Absolutely.
come to church, they can. I would welcome them and stuff, but it's not my job to try to condemn them or do any stuff like that, because I honestly don't think Jesus would do that. He would sit with them and stuff. I mean, like, and if they want to honestly ask my opinion and stuff, I will give it to them.
Yeah.
But that's not, like, my place to be like, "You're going to hell, you're doing that." Like, go talk to the Lord about this. The Lord wants a relationship with you. Talk to him, and you two can work it out.
Absolutely.
And that's my view on that.
Well, I feel like it kind of makes me think of like the message to the still suffering addict. We all of us in recovery, we carry this message to those who are still in active addiction. And so I see people, and I keep my business cards in my purse. I see women, and they're still on the streets. They're still in active use. They're still trapped in prostitution and things. And I'll usually give them like a bottled water, or a snack, and my card, and I'll tell them about Dove House, and I'll tell them about a little bit about myself, and be like, I used to be where you are, and you don't have to stay here in this place. Like, you don't have to be here for the rest of your life. It's scary, but there are other things you can do. Like, there's people who will love you.
Yeah.
Until you can love yourself. And it's like, you have a message to carry, and
Right.
and you spread it, and then you go on, and they know where you are. If
Right.
they want to hear more about it. And sometimes they do, actually. There's a girl who comes in, and that I met, like, in my neighborhood. And so sometimes she'll come to my house, and she'll, like, start telling me stuff. And I'm like, and she'll just like, well, I might come to Dove House. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll see you when you come.
Right.
Okay, so I'm gonna go back in the house. Bye.
I'm going back in. But I love that that's such a great, like, comparison, or, like, observation. That is such a great observation. Plus, I love your thinking of that too. It's like, you're here for them, you give them that water because you're still there, and you show them that you care. Because I think, honestly, people want to know you care.
Yeah.
They want to be seen.
Yeah,
right?
they do.
And you just doing that for a little bit, just that small thing is planting a seed.
Yes, that someone may care about me enough to help me one day.
Yeah.
Like, if I see this enough, because I've been that person. And that's how I got to this side of it, is people kept extending a hand to me. People would say things to me. And even though at that time I was sick and I was lost, I heard them. Those things built up over time. And when I'd had enough of, like, just literally just beating myself up, because that's what I was doing. And I decided, like, I think it's kind of funny, because my recovery started very much with God.
Okay.
The night that I decided to stop using, I cried out to God. I was tired. I was cold. I was hungry. I had just, like, been taken advantage of by some people, and I was so just defeated. And I remember this guy, like, I asked if I could use his phone, and he was really rude to me. Like, he let me use it, but then he was like, you should, like, get your life together. And I was like, okay.
You're like, I know this, okay? I don't need you
You're
telling me.
super helpful.
Right. Thank you, Captain Obvious.
There was, like, it was a very busy road that I was walking down in South Bend, and the cars were, like, going by super fast. And I just remember, like, thinking about, like, stepping into traffic. Like, it was late at night, and I remember looking up at the sky, and I was like, God, I just wish, like, I could either get better, or I could, like, just, like, not be here anymore.
Right.
Like, those are, like, my two options at this point. This is how I feel. Like, I either want this to stop. I don't want to use the drugs anymore, or I want to, like, die.
Yeah.
And that night, nothing worked out for me to be able to use again the rest of the night. I had money, but nothing worked out. And actually, the night got much more terrible than that. And in the morning, I decided to try to find my way out.
Mhm.
Like, I was so like, I just needed to stop. And I had like this new like wherewithal in me, and I don't know where it came from.
All right. Okay.
But maybe I do.
Right.
And I just had this feeling like I just need to stop. And so once I decided to stop, everything started to line up for me to stop.
Okay.
Like, it all just fell into place where it was like, you can do this and this will happen. And this person's like, I'll help you. You can come and stay at my house for one night while you figure it out. And as long as you're not using substances.
Right.
And then I called a friend here in Indy, and they were like, if you call the police, you have a warrant, they'll probably arrest you, and then you can't use. And I was like, I'm going to do that. And they were like, yeah, right. And I was like, I'm going to do it. And I did it. And they were like, holy crap, you really mean it.
You turned yourself in. Like
And then from that moment on, I just never stopped. Like, I was like, this is what I want. And like, I fell down, like I used again and struggled. I lost custody of my kids in the process of trying to fight for my sobriety. DCS actually finally took away my custody of my children. And I just realized that I had been fighting for them and not myself. And so I just found it in myself to fight for me.
Yeah.
Instead of everyone else. And once I did that, that's what led me to realizing that the best me is the person who isn't always thinking about herself.
All right.
In that process, I realized that when I think about what others need, and when I get out of myself and I serve other human beings, I am the best version of Kristy that I could ever be. I am less selfish. I am more humble. It just leads my steps much better than when it helps guide me. It helps me stay like where I should be.
Yeah.
Because I can get heightened and hoity-toity about myself. Like, oh, look what you've done. You've come so far.
Look what you start from the bottom, now we're here.
Right. And I'm like, but we aren't here yet. Calm down. And remind myself that, like, you're here because of all the people who built into you. And you're here because you are able to build into others. And you need to keep doing that to be here. And so that's like my life's journey is I want to build into my family, and I want to rescue animals, which is why I have 11 pets.
No, you do not. You have 11 pets?
Yes, I actually
Let's
no. I'm so
explore this for a
sorry.
second.
I have 10 because I just I have 3 rats, and my longest owned rat. I know you. I see your face.
I know, sorry.
People always make that. They either go oh, or they go oh.
Okay. There's nothing.
They're really smart and sweet and like wonderful.
So
but
I've heard.
I had one named Spicy Potato that I've had for 2 years, and she actually just passed away.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And so I still have Frigg and Freya left. And they're in a terrarium. They have like a very high, like 3-story condo, whatever. Cage.
Okay.
And then I have 4 dogs and 4 cats.
4 dogs, 4 cats.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep. I have 3 pit bulls and like a shepherd coyote dog.
Now, were these all
You're
was
like,
this all your idea?
how did this happen?
Yeah.
No. I also married a person who
Right,
wants to rescue animals too.
Oh,
and so
okay.
there is no person to like check us at the house.
Oh my God, I can only
We
imagine.
take turns being that person, which is not good because we're both like not a checker kind of person when it comes to animals. So I'm like, I want a kitten. My wife's like, okay. And I'm like, oh, well, I'm getting 2. And she's like, that's fine.
Oh no.
So I got 2. So I have 4 cats now.
Well, I was hoping maybe your wife would be like,
Nope. She checks other things, but not animals.
all right, you got a Dr. Doolittle house
Yes,
over there.
absolutely. And I do talk. I don't know that I actually understand them. But
Right.
I think
They
I do.
understand you.
Yes, they do. And they look at me. They understand me when I say who pooped.
That's just a lot of animals. Okay.
It is.
You have
I think it comes from like all the stuff.
Right.
And like, oh, I need to rescue
Right.
and have the
Not
things.
just people. Let's rescue animals too.
Yeah, I need to love all the things. I also
Okay.
like plants that are
Oh.
dying.
How do you have plants and do your animals eat? Like your
So at home, I only have like one. I have 2 plants right now at my
Okay.
house, and one of them is my uncle passed away last year, and I got a plant that was given to me from his like funeral stuff,
Okay.
things that my grandmother wanted me to have, and so I repotted it, and I'm taking very good care of it. And I looked it up, and they're not really interested in it, and they haven't messed with it.
Okay, good.
So I have like one plant at the house, and then I have like a weird something Jewish Jewish something, Jew
Okay.
plant, my sister calls it. I don't know. She gave it to me. That's what she called it. Please,
Okay, we're not trying to be
I'm not. That's what she called it, and I don't know what else it's called. And
Right,
it's like
fair
got
enough.
like ivy leaves, and it's purple on the back,
Oh, that's fun.
and it's dying.
Right. It's okay.
In my office, I have a bunch of plants. I have like an elephant ear. I have a dragon fruit. I
Okay.
have a couple cactuses, cacti, I guess when they're
I
plural.
don't know. It's, I go with whatever you want to say. I won't correct you on that because
Yeah.
I'm the worst at trying to figure
Well,
out.
maybe correct me when I say things like,
Right. If it's obvious, if it's something, but that, I'm like, that goes with, yeah, that sounds like it makes sense.
Yeah. So I have a bunch of plants at work, and I keep them there so that my kids
Right.
I don't have to worry about that.
Because I was wondering, because I grew up with cats, and they used to try to eat the poinsettias all the time, and I remember those are dangerous. So that's why I was
Yes.
worried about
They're
your
highly
plants.
toxic,
Yeah,
and they will kill them.
but those dang children. I mean, but I guess it's the same as people. We do stuff we're not supposed to do,
Yeah,
and then we
no.
get we don't fully. I mean, I guess you could take substances that kill you, so it's semi the same thing.
They're kind of cats, and you never know why they're doing it because they're not human. So, like, I have a video of my kitten licking a bleach cap, and I'm like, "Why are you doing that?
Right.
Stop!" And I'm just like, "Take the bleach away."
Right.
And I'm like, "Stop licking that, stupid."
Right.
So he's just not very bright, I
Right.
think, but that's okay. I love them when they're not as smart.
Right. No, it is. It's the character. They have good heart.
Mm-hmm.
It is. We love them for the other stuff.
Yeah.
We got smart people in this world. We don't need any more.
Yeah, I don't need a
cats.
smart cat.
No, that's for the birds. We don't need we don't.
I prefer the one brain cell cat.
Oh, right. I like those dumb pets. They're real loving and kind.
Hilarious.
All right. Sorry. Well, going on. I was so curious about those pets because
Yeah.
I grew up with animals, but I just don't have a desire for pets. So people who have tons of pets, I do not judge you one single bit. I'm just like, I want to understand more about these pets.
Yeah.
But it makes sense.
You know,
Especially
people who have a lot think that other people want that.
Right. My sister, she has 5 cats, and so I'm like, dude, this is too much.
Yeah.
But I get it. Yeah.
You love them, and you're like, well, I should get more because I
Right.
love it. It's like sweaters.
Right.
This is my favorite sweater. I'm going to get one in every color.
I
Well,
do.
this is my favorite cat, so I'm going to get one in every color.
Right. Yeah, no, oh my, that's such a great comparison because it helps me understand it more because I've bought like sweaters. I've been like, this looks great on me. And then I bought more colors. It makes
Yeah.
it makes a lot more sense.
When you like have a cat purr on your chest, and then you have 2 cats purring on your chest,
It makes
like,
it even better.
you're like, this is amazing.
Right.
It's healing.
There you go. I appreciate that. And you put that in perspective so that I can understand pet people more.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Also,
Now
we
we're
just
good.
love
I'm just
just like torture. That too.
Well, plus it makes it hard too because your wife's like, yes, we need another one.
We should get another one.
Uh,
I do think it's part of my caretaker nature.
mhm.
And even when I was younger, I wanted to, like, my original thought was I wanted to be a nurse. So,
Yeah.
like, I always wanted to, like, I think take care of people
Mhm.
in some aspect. It just, my life turned upside down, and now I'm a substance abuse counselor.
Right.
And I didn't know that was even a thing that I would want to be
Right.
until all of this happened.
All right.
And so it's just part of my caretaker nature. Pets, people, I want to save everyone, but you can't do that. So I focus on what I can save.
Right.
And it's hard because I see pets on the street and they have no one, and I'm like, just keep driving. You
Right.
can't stop. You don't have any room.
There you go.
And it's like that. Unfortunately, sometimes it's like that with people too.
Right.
Like, I see people and I'm like, you should give them that $5 you have, or you should,
right.
stop. And I'm like, you're gonna be late. You cannot save everyone. And so, like, boundaries are a big part of it too.
Right.
Like, having to have, it's hard
It
because,
is.
but if I don't have boundaries, I've found that I'll pour my entire cup till it's empty, and then I don't have anything left for me, and then I don't want to give anyone anything because
Right.
I'm empty. And so I learned boundaries the hard way. And so I do have boundaries with the pets. Like, we're not supposed to get any more.
Right. There you go. That's all. That's at least you have those boundaries. But I feel you. I'm the same way with when I see like homeless people or just people on the streets.
Yes.
Because I used to give them. I no longer carry cash because I honestly I would give all of it away. My husband would be like, "I just gave you $100 out of like 20s." I'm like, "I know, but like it's so hard when you're in a warm car and there's someone
Not in.
and people are like, well, like they could use it for drugs." I'm like, you know what?
It doesn't matter.
The Lord put this person on the side of the street. I don't know what they're going to do with it. All I say is, here you go. May the Lord be with you.
Yep.
I
That's
don't
what
know what
I
else.
tell myself when people ask me that. They're like, well, aren't you afraid they'll buy drugs with it? And I'm like, I'm more afraid of what they'll do if they have to keep like searching for money,
Right?
or like scrounging or like being in need. I that worries me more because I've been them.
Right?
And so I know the darker parts of that lifestyle. And so when there is no other option, the things that people have to turn to, for men, it can be very dangerous and can be criminal. And for women, it can be self-deprecating.
Mm-hmm.
And so especially with women, I tend to be like, it doesn't matter.
Right?
Like, here's this $10. Please don't get in a car and get hurt by someone.
Right?
I'll go get warm for a second, something. And maybe you will eat. Maybe you
Right?
will buy food with it,
Right?
So,
Yeah, no, I feel you because I used to when I first became a nurse, needing like nurses in the hospital. So I worked at STI clinic that used to be at Wishard, and so I
oh,
mean, like,
yeah.
Bellflower.
Yeah,
Yes.
I've been
Shout
there
out to
before
them.
back then.
Shout out to them. Yes, and so I get it. I never had personally do that, but I mean, sitting down with them and like hearing just stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, because most of them, it's a free STI clinic, and so I get what you're saying because I mean, women. I was an RN, so I mostly saw most men, but like, I still read people's charts and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And yeah, no, it's 100% true. And I think people just, I don't know, like, this is why I started the podcast to kind of just like, we're all like to give different perspective. Like what you just said may have changed people's. Watch now. People just be giving homeless people tons of money now. That you just said that.
Hey, that can't be possibly be a bad thing,
right? No, especially, but I think that's it. It's just like people do like when they don't get the money. Yeah, they may use it on drugs, maybe, but like, who am I, the person to be like, if I have the money and stuff, to be like,
Yeah.
no, like I can't. Well, now I carry like Starbucks gift cards and stuff because I'm like, most places have Starbucks.
Bags of chips.
Yeah. Oh
mini
yeah. Now I got
chips.
like trail mix, and now my children are like, there's a homeless person. Do we have trail mix? They're always
Yeah.
trying to give people, or even people that are like, there was one time they just had a sign that said like, I love you. And my son like rolled down the window. Was like, here you go. I was like, I don't actually think they're homeless. I think they're just trying to say like God loves them. And I was like,
He's like, well, they get a trail mix
Right?
anyway
Oh, yeah.
because
No,
they have a sign.
But yeah, so yeah, I carry like food and like stuff like that, just because you just never
Yeah.
know. Like I don't have money anymore because
And not everyone's going to be appreciative of it either.
Right. Oh yeah, no.
Like some people, I've had people where I like give them food only,
Yeah.
and they're like, well, I need money for this. And I'm like, well, I don't have any money to give you. And they're like, well, and they'll
Right.
throw my food in the trash. It doesn't stop me from keep doing
Oh,
what I
no.
do for someone else because, for the one person that does that, there's 10 people who are like, oh my God, thank you.
Right.
And so, but for those that are listening and the first time someone's like, screw your chips, just be ready for it because it will happen where someone is, and just think of what are they going through in that moment that they're so angry and they're so hateful to a stranger that's trying to give them something. Like that's a bad place to be. Like they're already in a bad place.
Mhm.
They don't need any help. They don't need help feeling worse. So just move on.
Right.
That's what I do. I don't say anything because part of me wants to, and we're humans. And so like you're that thing in you where you're
Right.
like, I'm doing something nice for you. How dare you?
Yeah. Right.
And you're like, they didn't ask me to do something nice for them, so I'm just gonna go on with my life.
All right.
And put my chips back in my bag, shove them up my, whatever.
Right.
Like they told me to.
Right. Oh
And
my
move
God, people.
forward
Right.
because not everybody appreciates everything. But then one day they may. One day
Right.
that might be like, I was a jerk, or they might have a moment of clarity. You just never know. Everything you do that's in kindness is planting a seed.
Oh yeah.
I believe that.
Oh, 100%. I would. Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, no, I always hate it when people do like a scenario like that, and then they're like, "Well, they threw." I'm like, "That is just one person." Okay, we get up and we
Yeah.
keep going.
Sometimes I have a bad day and I'm a total
Right.
jerk. So
Right. No, like you don't. The thing is, it gets me. You don't apply that to everything in your life. Like you get food poisoning, you go out. You still gonna go out to eat. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
might
just don't.
not go to Chipotle,
Right.
but I'm gonna go out to eat.
Right. But yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like people, I think also people just make excuses. To be honest, they'd be like, I tried it once. I'm like, oh, okay. You're
Yeah.
not just because that one person.
Yeah, that's what we're humans.
Yeah, we're human. We're messy. We got our, like you said, we get that pride. We're like, I gave you something, but like you made such a great point. You were like, that person didn't ask you. You know what I mean?
You're just out here being kind because you want to.
Right?
And this is not so, and so do it for you.
Right.
I mean, because you want to be a kind person. And so if they don't accept it, you were still a kind person.
Right. Yeah.
So that's cool.
Right. Plus, I feel like, honestly, too, I mean, you're just also in this, I believe, because, I mean, a Christian, so you're not the main character in your life.
No.
Right?
Which freaks me out, actually. That gives me existential crises.
Right? I mean, it gets me all the time, dude. I want to be the main character in my life so much.
They actually talk about that in our recovery books.
Oh, they do?
They say that we are kind of, all the world's a stage and all the people, million players or whatever. So in like that book of Alcoholics Anonymous, it kind of talks about like, or maybe it's Narcotics Anonymous. Maybe it's both of them.
It's one of the anonymous.
They talk about like we are a director.
Okay.
And our life is the show. Mm-hmm. And if everyone would just do what we say and play their parts, our life would go off without a hitch. But life is not a show.
No.
And we are not a director. And so life does not go off with without a hitch because we're trying to control everything.
Right.
It's like a control thing that they try to teach us. And that's how they tell it to you.
Ah.
Is they're like, you think you're a director and your life is a stage and everyone on it, every person you see is a person on your stage and they're not. They're their own people. And so they do things because of them, not because of you. And I'm like, what?
Right.
So she just yelled at me because of her and not because of me.
Right.
And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, mind is blown.
Right.
That's changed my life. And that really has changed my life.
Isn't it crazy how stuff like that, like just that small, like, because I mean, like when I said like, you're not the main character, I heard that from like one thing and I was like, oh my God, like.
What?
But then like when you sit in your car and you're chilling at the light and it hits you, you're like, oh my God, that is so true. I'm going to have to ponder this, right?
Absolutely. It kind of blows your mind.
It sounds super like easy. I mean, like you say, and you're like, yeah. But then when you sit, I mean, like I feel like with a lot of stuff, when you sit with it and think about it, you're like, oh, it gets you.
Every day we interact with people and they have these whole lives. And like every plane that goes over your head, there are people on it and they're all going to like their destinations with their whole lives. And you may brush past them for a second and have a moment with them and you're on their stage because you're in their life.
Right.
And that's when I start being like, oh, well, I can't breathe. I'm going to go to my room. I don't like it. There's, and so that's when you go, let's not do philosophicalness over here. And so it's huge. It's like, we're small. Mm-hmm. Right. And humility.
Right. Oh my gosh.
And it puts you right back in your body. Like I'm supposed to be humble.
Yeah.
Because I am just a person.
Right. Yeah. It is. It's a lot. It is. Such good talks. All right. We probably should get into actually you and stuff. We're talking. I guess we're talking about.
I'm trying to make sure I throw things in there about myself.
All right. You did.
I don't want to talk about myself too much, which is weird because this is about me.
I know. Well, you don't have to, but we'll talk a little bit since I got you here. Since
no,
you're
totally.
Sitting here.
Fine.
Yes. All right. So I love the work you do. Is it destigmat? I don't know. I'm adding like words to things. Destigmatization, like.
So
what would you call
I
that?
did mostly like stigma awareness.
Okay, that's what it's called.
So I did the panel position that I did for a little while, and I was a stigma ambassador for Marion County Public Health Department. And then I just, in my role, like I currently work as an adjunct faculty for Mental Health America of Indiana.
Oh.
And I help teach peer coaches that are coming on like the fundamentals and ethics and things. So it helps me like remember the strengths-based language. So the language that we use when we're talking about people, and people will say things like addict, or worse words like junkie or whatever that people use. And so we person living with substance use disorder, person living with substance use, person who, it's so we re-identify the person first, things like that. And so that helps people recognize where the stigma is when they're stigmatizing another person, because we do it to ourselves internally, where you tell yourself like, oh, I'm just an addict, I'm this, I'm that, and then people do it to us, and then or society does it, and it trickles down from there, and then it's built into our laws and organizations, like when we put people in jail for using drugs that they are slowly killing themselves with, and that is their crime. Their crime is using drugs and hurting themselves, and they are a criminal for it.
All right.
That is stigma. That is institutional stigma. And so it starts at the top and it goes down, and it's a passion of mine to discuss it, and to talk about, recovery in general and recovering people, because I believe that a lot of us are recovering people, because if we take away the substances, the choices that we make are the problem. The way we think is the problem. And so substance use disorder is a cognitive thinking disorder, and the way you think messes up your life. And there are a lot of other things that people do and think, and it messes up their life, but they don't use drugs.
Right.
So they're not the same.
Right.
But the drug use is merely a symptom.
Yeah.
And so when you look at it like that, it's much easier to be like, well, why are we stigmatizing people for something like this? And I mean, they do it between each other, addicts do, because when you feel bad, if someone is worse than you, well, then that makes you feel better.
Right.
Like, I don't use that drug because that's way worse.
Right.
Or using a needle is way worse than just smoking it or whatever. And so then they stigmatize each other. And then people can't get better because they're worse. They're not worthy. They're a criminal. They're all of these things.
Right.
And so my job is to tell people that it doesn't matter that all of those things can happen, because you don't even know who you are. Like, there's someone inside of you that you maybe haven't even met yet. And people respond to that. They want to believe that there's more inside of them, because there's been maybe a glimmer to them that there is, and they just can't find it. They can't find it on their own. They just need someone to be like, it is there, and point at it and be like, it's right there. Don't you see it? Or when they speak, to pull it out and be like, don't you see that that's the good in you? And they're like, no, I don't see it. And that's what people did for me.
Yeah.
And they put a mirror to me.
Yeah.
And they said, don't you see yourself? Don't you see how amazing you are? And I was like, I can't look at it.
Right.
For the longest time. And they would kept putting the mirror back up and being like, look at her. And one day I was able to look at her, and then I started to truly see her.
Right.
And once I saw her, then I could grow and be like, make her more than what she ever thought she could be, because I had to be able to see her first. And so that's what the work we do in recovery is, and at Dove House, and the stigma work is like, no matter what people have been telling you, what's been programmed to you, and this can apply to more than just substance use disorder.
I was just thinking that. I was like, I got so much.
No matter what people have told you over and over, no matter what society has told you so many times, there is more to you than what people have told you, and what society has trained you to be, because there's also agents of socialization.
Right.
So, be quiet and be your little girl. Be quiet and quaint and put your hands down and don't lift your legs. You have a dress on, and you're a little boy. Play with trucks and do this and do that. I don't know what they tell little boys to do.
Right.
Sorry.
Yeah, because we're not boys. But that seems like something. Yes.
And we program people, and then those programmings keep them in a box, and then they're uncomfortable in that box, and then they do things to be happy, like use substances, because they can't find true happiness because they're not themselves.
Girlfriend, I want to just throw my shoe at you. You're preaching right now. You know what I mean? It's true.
I mean, it's my life's journey. I was not myself for years. And now that I'm myself, I'm like, no one will ever put me back in that box. And I don't like to see people put in a box where they are even like 12-step. That's my foundation. But I'm like, that's not all there is, and you can do different things and find your way in recovery, because it's multifaceted. Yeah. It's kind of the opposite, the road. Yeah. They talk about the road to heaven is really small. Well, the road to recovery is huge and wide, and everyone can get on it, and there are multiple paths to it. And so telling people, well, this is the only way. No, that's your way. Yeah. And so the stigma is about breaking stigma is about open-mindedness. Right. And we're in such a tumultuous time overall in our nation.
Oh, yes. Very.
Open-mindedness could save us all so much. Right. If we just realize that how we do things is maybe not how everyone should do things. And that we'd have a lot more peace if we just let people do their things their way. Yeah. And then if they want help, they'll let us know, and if we see them in distress, then we may lend a hand, but otherwise it's not really our place to judge. It's not our place to decide what's best for other human beings, know? And so that's kind of what stigma's about. Do it my way, do it this way, this is the only way. Yeah. And it's like, no, it isn't.
Well, yeah, because you're dealing with human beings. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, these are living people.
Like people.
They're multifaceted. There's different things of them. Like there's not just one thing that makes someone.
And they don't even know
Right.
necessarily how
No.
multifaceted they are.
Yeah.
And so you're dealing with a human being that maybe doesn't even know what all they are dealing with.
Right.
Too, on top of it. And so you just have to be willing to be open.
Right.
And stand beside someone while they go through maybe the hardest things they've ever went through in their life. And say, I'm not going to judge you for the worst things you've ever done.
Right.
Because I don't want to be judged
Right.
for the worst things that I've ever done.
Right.
And
well, yeah. I mean, you shouldn't be like, we shouldn't judge anyone. Like what we say at church, it's like back then, I hate always saying this, but this, like in the early 90s Christianity.
Absolutely. No, I remember the 90s. I was born in the 80s, so.
Yes, it was very like they viewed everyone by their sin.
Yes.
Right? They didn't see the person.
Oh, man.
Right?
Don't even get me started.
I know.
The 90s and the mixing of yolks.
Right. Right. That's what it is, though. I feel like even like, I mean, I feel like now Christianity's been more where we see the person and who God made them and stuff and not by their sin. Because like you said before, like you were talking about, you know, yours is an addiction, but like what you're saying about addiction can be for any person that struggles with, I don't know, I'm trying to think, like, I don't know, pride. Let's just do like
Absolutely.
generalization.
Pride is a huge one.
Right? Like generalization of pride and stuff.
Gossip.
It's like, yeah, it's just they're like, I would say like addiction, I mean, same-sex attraction stuff. This is just outward. Like this is what people see. But like people have a whole bunch of sins underneath.
We call them character defects in recovery.
Yeah. But yeah. So that's what. But I love what you're doing. I feel like it is parallel with the Christian faith because it's just because like I felt like we're conditioned and stuff to see people.
Yes.
We compare them and to see them for like other stuff than like we're all dealing with something.
Yes.
We've all got something. Some people's stuff they're dealing with is more external than others and stuff, but you should not judge anybody. We're all fallen people.
Yeah. It actually reminds me, I saw this commercial. It was like a woman was in a store with a child and the child was throwing a temper tantrum.
Mm-hmm.
And the ladies that were behind her in line were judging her. And they were saying, oh, my God, can't she control her child? She should just, discipline him and da-da-da-da-da. And then it like goes backwards in time. And it shows right before they went to that store, that woman is in an office with DCS. And she is the brand new foster parent to this child who has just been placed in her care. And the first thing she does is try to take him to this store to get ice cream. And he has a meltdown. And they judge her because they think that's her child and she doesn't know how to control him. And it just shows, like, and I watched it and it was so powerful. It was a few seconds of a clip. And I was like, God, that's powerful because how many times do I think I know a situation? Or do I like, even in traffic, when somebody like does something and I'm like, oh, you're a jerk, you just cut me off. And I'm like, you don't know what's going on in that car. They could be having a medical emergency. They could be finding out someone just that they love. They just got a message or a call and they've passed away. You don't know what you don't know.
Right.
And yet we assume so often.
Right.
And then we move forward with that assumption and we judge and we close the gate on them, decided, judgment and gavel thrown, and that's what it is. Like, control your child, discipline them. I know nothing about this situation.
Right. Oh my God, yes.
And so I try to be mindful of that when I feel that rising up in myself to be like, oh my gosh, you're just doing this thing and it's an inconvenience to me, this thing you're doing.
Yes.
And I'm like, no, I need to check myself because I don't know what this person has going on or why they're feeling like, why they're mad, why they're upset, why they're rude to me, whatever it is.
Right.
I don't know why. And so, because chances are, if I think back to myself, anytime I've been rude or I've snapped or I've done things where people are like, what's your problem?
Right.
I was hurting. I was going through something. I had just had an argument with my spouse. I had just found out someone I cared about. I lost my cat.
Right.
You never know, and because of it, I'm a jerk today.
Yeah.
And so everyone who interacted with me probably thought that I was just a bad person, maybe.
Yeah.
And maybe it just was a bad day.
Right.
And so flipping that to remembering that for other people, giving other people grace.
Right.
That's That's what my life is about.
Right.
Trying to give other people grace. It's hard. Sometimes they do stuff, and the ladies that I work with, sometimes they make decisions, and I'm like, why would you make that decision?
Right, right.
And I think back to all the bad decisions I made, and I'm like, this is karma. This is karma for when my case manager and I was in early recovery, and I'd be like, I'm going to do this. And she'd be like, that's a terrible idea. And I'm like, I'm going to do it anyway.
Right.
And then I'd be like, that worked. Why'd you let me do that? And so then they do that to me, and I'm like, oh, I mean, okay, this is karma. It's fine.
All right. And you're like, I get it. But it is, I mean, we were
I
just
deserve this.
But now you know because you went through it. So you
Yes.
can now be like, okay, I get it. Like you see the person because you went through this before. And
Yes.
stuff. But yeah, I think that's just, I love that. I've seen that same thing with the child and stuff. And that's just, I mean, oh my God, don't even get me started with people, with older people or people that like to give you judgment when you have kids. Because I have 3 small kids.
Oh, yes.
5, 3, and 1.
Aw.
And they be on the streets going crazy.
I thought you said you didn't have any pets.
Yeah, no, I decided to have kids instead.
Yes, the very little ones too, so that's a lot.
Right. Later on in life, I'm going to get a pig too. But right now,
Oh, that's exciting.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I know. I'm excited about that. But yeah, but I get like I mean, plus people driving. I've never really honked at someone just because I'm also just like, oh my God. I'm a very people pleaser. So I'm like, oh my
Yes.
God, don't be mad at me.
Oh,
and
I'm
stuff.
so the opposite.
I know, right? Which is great. I love that. But yes, but I'll get people honking at me, flipping the bird at like 7 o'clock in the morning. I'm
Yeah,
like,
it's
honey,
too
why
early.
are we already starting our day like this and stuff?
Right.
Like, yes, I wasn't fully paying attention, but like, no one died. You're just mad because I went through the stop sign. I mean, like,
They're
I didn't
late.
go. Yeah, I delayed you a little bit, and I'm like, it's not that deep.
It's their poor planning that they're mad at you because of
Right.
their poor planning. I know because I do that to people, and I'm like, why are you doing that to people? You're late because of you, and now you're mad that they're like
Right.
stopping at the sign that they're supposed to stop at. It's ridiculous. So, I actually have. So you said you have little children, so I don't have little children, but I do have children. So, and I recently reunited with my son. You know, I said that
Yeah.
DCS took my kids. My older son, his name is Isaiah. It's really weird how things worked out where I chose that name. I was really struggling when I was pregnant with him, and I watched a movie called Losing Isaiah. And at the end of the movie, there was like a excerpt from the Bible from the book of Isaiah, and it talked about that he would guide them.
Huh.
And I was
Yeah.
like, God, that's a beautiful name. And I think I was like, I just feel so lost. What a beautiful name. A person that would be a guide one day. And so I named my son Isaiah after that movie.
Yeah.
And so he was taken from me, him and his little brother Isaac. And the woman actually called his foster mother. She's amazing. She called my job and left a voicemail on my Dove House phone. And they go to my emails. So I had missed it. And I was going through my emails, and it had been like 3 days prior. She was like reaching out and asking, like, she's like, your son wants to see you. And so since then, I have had several visits. He stayed overnight with me during Thanksgiving. We just had our first Christmas together since we've been reunited. His younger brother they were separated.
Oh my God.
So he lives with a different family.
Okay.
And there's been a lot of things that have happened with that. So I'm just, waiting patiently to see how that develops. But for now, just focusing on my relationship with my oldest son. And it's just restoration is amazing. And I had a mentor previously that was a case manager, and she was a prayer warrior, and I loved her very much. And even though we didn't always see eye to eye on like stuff with like my sexuality and things like that, she built into me a lot. And she always told me, both of my case managers would tell me that my children would want to find me one day, and that I needed to decide who I was going to be when they found me. And I was just so thankful that I embraced that message. And I just have built this life for myself, and I focused on what I kept in the back of my mind, like, I want to be this person that's worth finding, but I stopped like doing it just for my sons, and was doing it for me.
All right.
And now it turned out that I'm even more than I expected to be when me and my son reunited. And it's awesome. And he goes to school at IU too. So we both go to IU. He goes up where he lives, and I go down here in Indy. And so it's super fun because he's always like, well, this with college. And I'm like, yeah, no, I know. Do you want to send me your Canvas links in so I can get in on Canvas? I'm going to look at it. I do know. I know exactly. I have a 3.9 GPA. Right? Don't play with me.
You're like, I'm in these streets too.
Okay, and I work full time.
Right.
So don't start with me, son.
That's so beautiful that you're able to have that with your son now and stuff.
It's wonderful.
Right? It is. That's so great. And he gets to meet you now where you who you are now and stuff.
Yes.
Who I believe you truly were and stuff.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Well, and he remembers me because he was 7, he was 6 when I lost custody. And so for several years I had visits and fought. And so when we finally lost touch, he was 8. So we were separated for 10 years where we didn't see each other at all or get to speak or know where each other really was until now or until July. It was in July of last year. And so it just was this hiatus in our relationship. And as soon as you lay eyes on that person again kind of moment where they're, you're tied together by souls.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how it is when we are together. He is my child. Right. And he's also my twin. He's
is he? He look just like you?
He looks just and acts just
No, he does
he
not.
acts like 18-year-old me, yes.
Oh.
Yes.
Is that a good or bad thing?
Well, it's good. I mean, he's funny and witty and easily distracted. Right. I'm is he going to hear this?
We don't want to put too much into it.
Right. Positive. And I'm an adult. Easily distracted. Obviously, you hear the people listening to this are gonna be like, "What topic were we on?"
What? I'm very easily distracted too.
This will be a very interesting podcast episode. I think this will be the best one.
Probably. Let's hope. Yeah. I don't know. I'm just like, Lord, you put her in this seat. We're gonna see where this goes.
Yeah.
It's your podcast. She's here for a reason.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about whatever gets on our mind.
Yeah.
Since both of us are all over the place.
I think he should be able to listen to it. He knows he's distracted. And it's, it's just, I relate to that because I've worked very hard to be less distracted as an adult and be able to control my mindfulness and my awareness, the late thing when I got here. Right. I was I tend to run 5 to 10 minutes late. Well, that's one of my quirks of being inattentive. Is that I have time blindness really badly. And so I'll be like, what time is it? I can do that in 5 minutes. And my wife's like, you cannot do that in 5 minutes. You can't do anything in 5 minutes.
See, there you go. She may not stop you with the pets, but definitely time.
Oh, time. She lies to me about what time we're supposed to be places.
I do that with my husband because he's the same way. He'll be like, let me go mow this real quick. I'm like, we are not doing that.
I'm going to scoop the cat box.
Right? You're like, no. See, she knows. I know too.
Heels.
She's better I like the heels thing. I told her.
You have to be to dinner.
Oh my God, that cracks me up.
Oh man, that's good.
Right? But so yeah, I love that you
splashed myself.
Right, it happens. I love that you're reconciled with your son now and stuff. Do you have other kids?
Yeah, so he has a little brother. His name is Isaac, and I say that weirdly because I've been informed that he actually changed his name with the family that he lives with now. His brother said that he changed his name to Braden. And I mean, they went through a lot of things. Yeah. And so that was difficult when I first was told that. That's been something I've had to process. I was told months ago. And it took me a couple of those months to even be say that name, right? As if I'm talking about my son. And when I said it, you heard me say my son Isaac. Yeah. Still, because that's what I named him. And so, but if we're reunited, when we're reunited, I want to respect him and his wishes. Yeah. And I imagine that he wanted to let a name go that maybe was tied to a lot of pain for him. Yeah. And so I have to remember what he needs. Because he didn't choose or have a say as a child in all of the things that happened while mom was struggling and going through active addiction. He was completely powerless in all of it, him and his brother both. And because of that, I have no right to be angry. Right. And that's true. I have to process those emotions. And so I'm working on making sure I've processed all of that because I need to be ready to receive whatever he needs to process instead. Because that's what that's my job, is to manage my own emotions
All right.
and be ready for his, to help him work through his. And so that's what I'm trying to do for both my sons right now is be ready for Isaac Brayden when he's ready, and be there for Isaiah because he's ready now. And so we talk about a lot of things, and some of them are very painful. But he needs to have someone who's there to make sure he knows that none of it's his fault and all of those things. So
I love that. That's such a being a parent and stuff. I understand. I 100% understand that. But I love that that you've got. Like you're not. I feel like sometimes I talk to parents. They're like they still make it about themselves. I hate to call people out, but like they do. Like they do.
I've had a lot of therapy.
I guess so. Yeah. So it shows. Good job. You've done. There's people who've gone to therapy and still you're like, oh,
Yeah.
you are still very not happy about life.
Yeah, that's true.
Right. So it's working. You're actually like
It's
taking it in.
important to me to well, and also when you work with other people, I don't want to be a hypocrite.
Right.
I don't
Oh,
want to
no.
be a person who's like, work on yourself, be the best version of yourself, but I'm not going to do that.
Right.
I'm going to like try to suck. So when I tell like my ladies something, if I feel it in my heart, if it doesn't ring true, or I'm not living in it.
Yeah.
Like if I'm telling them something that's supposed to be good for them and I'm not living in that thing, then I'm gonna feel that in my heart. Like
Right.
that I need to, like I teach an intention outpatient treatment class at Dove House, like IOP. And we do relationship stuff. And so when we talk about the relationship stuff, we talk about like holding relationship hostage, like behaviors that can be toxic.
Yeah.
And we were reading it, and I'm reading something and I'm like, oh, I maybe do this. I might need to work on that. Like,
All right.
And so I called myself out in the group. I was like, well, I can show you one of the, I was like, does anybody do any of these things? And they're like,
Right. Yeah.
I don't want to call myself out.
Right.
And
No
I'm
one's
like,
going to share.
I was like, well, I do this one.
All right.
I was like, I like to do this sometimes too. I don't like to, but when I'm upset or when I'm dysregulated emotionally, because that's what it is, I may act out in this behavior. And so I'm going to call myself out on it. And then I actually went home and talked to my spouse about like how I do. I'm like, I do this and I am sorry that I do this. And I'm going to work on trying to not do those things because, we're trying to be healthy.
Yeah. Right.
Right.
We're trying to be good for each other.
Right. Absolutely. That's the focus and the goal here. So I'm going to try not to, hold our relationship hostage or do things like that are going to be not healthy for us. And because if I'm going to ask my ladies, well, don't do these in your relationships, or these are things you should be mindful of, and then go home and do those same things to my partner, well, then I don't have any business leading anyone. And eventually I would probably not be leading anyone. That's kind of how I see like the calling that I've found.
Right.
Is that I've stepped into it and I have to walk in it the right way.
Yeah.
And if I don't, I believe it'd be taken from me. I believe I'd lose it. I've seen things happen to other people where they get too big for their britches in this work, and an ego steps in and they make mistakes, and then they aren't in this role anymore.
Yeah.
And so I'm keeping my ego in check, being humble, being, staying focused on what I'm trying to have others do, making sure that I'm walking in the same thing is important to me too. Because I don't want to be trying to guide people to do something I'm not doing. That feels fake. That feels false to me.
I bet the women that you help, like they see that, and that makes even more of an impact. And
they do tell me that I've had like people write me like letters and things like when they're leaving me, and they say that one of the reasons that we were so close is because of how real you are.
Yeah.
They say that, and I don't know how to be any other way. I feel like if it was a problem for my work, for me to be completely as real as I could be, then I would maybe dial it back. And with the boundaries thing, like I've learned the boundaries of what's appropriate for my work, but most of the time being exactly who I am is exactly what they need.
Yeah.
And so that's what I do. And so sometimes it's cross and like harsh, and they're like, man, you're super harsh, and like you're mean, they're like, you're hurting my feelings, and I'm like, oh, it's gonna be okay. And they come back later and like, I really needed that, and you just went all, you didn't sugarcoat it, or I'm like, what did you need sugar for? To make it more palatable? Like, I don't feel like we need to sugarcoat behavior changes that need made. Like, oh, well, this is not necessarily good for you. But it's
Right.
okay. We'll just tiptoe. No,
No.
that's bad for you. And if you keep doing it, it's going to mess up your life. You end up right where you came from.
Mhm.
And then they're like, well, that. Ugh. And then they come back and they're like, thank you for saying that.
Right.
And I'm like, you're welcome.
But-
People said that to me.
Right. I think it's because these people that guided you loved you, and you love these women.
I do.
And sometimes love is not, it's not nice.
It isn't
Because
always
you
nice.
care. You care for that person.
If it's
And-
always nice, it's not real.
Yeah, it's not real, and then you're not helping that person. If you're
Yeah.
like you said, like, oh, maybe we'll revisit this. Maybe, like, I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
if you, then that's not
Here
not
to
loving.
people please them.
Yeah, that's not loving, because they're just going to go back and mess themselves up because you didn't tell them the actual truth.
And then they'll be mad at me.
Yeah.
Well, it's very likely that they would
Yeah.
actually be upset with me because I did not do a good job as a guide. I was
Yeah.
not real, and I sugar-coated it, or I tiptoed around it, and then when it smacks them in the face dead on, because life doesn't sugarcoat anything,
No, no, it does not.
they're gonna be like, well, that really hurt, and you didn't warn me at all. And I'll
Right.
be like, well, I didn't want to hurt your feelings,
Right. Right.
and now you're in jail
Right.
because I didn't hurt your feelings.
Right. Yeah. You
You know?
sometimes.
Or God forbid they aren't here to say anything
Right. Yeah.
because I didn't want to hurt their feelings.
Right.
And they relapsed and they used a substance and they overdosed. You
Yeah.
know? And that's the kicker, is that this is life or death we're
Right.
talking about with the substance use disorder. And people, I think, forget when they're like, oh, they're this, they're that. And it's like, they could die.
Right.
We need to change the way we look at things. And so I try to remember that. Like, you could die if you don't change the way you're doing things. So let's remember that this is life or death. Because as soon as they get a little time under their belt, they're like, oh, I feel so good.
Right.
I forgot I was in danger. But that's human nature.
Yeah.
We forget pain very quickly. Otherwise, there'd be a lot of one-child families.
Right. Oh, yes. Very true.
Like, never doing that again.
Right. And then you see it's a whole nother, don't get me going down
Right.
with children.
Exactly. They're so cute, you forget their
Right.
the
It's kind of
pain.
like pets, kind of.
Yeah, exactly. Because it is painful when they ruin a rug or something,
Right.
or like all my stuff, or when they ate 3 couches.
Oh.
The coyote dog.
Oh, God.
It took a lot to train the coyote dog.
Kristy, I'm not even going to ask with that. That's a whole nother thing.
I don't know. That was one of my wife's adopting.
Oh, okay. That's on her then. Never mind.
We love him. His name is Phineas.
Phineas.
Yes. And
I like that.
Yes, he is cool. He's a cool looking dog. He just steals and eats couch. Well, he doesn't eat couches anymore. We've broken that.
Right.
But he does still steal. So if you have the butter, keep your eye on it.
All right. Right. It's okay. You know what? He has a good heart.
Yes, he does. That's a fact.
That's always my go-to. They have a good heart.
I like that. I'm gonna start using that. And people, I'm gonna be like, well, they have a good heart.
You can't argue with the good heart.
No,
You can't.
absolutely.
You're
And
just
it's
like,
actually most of
it's
the time
valid.
it's very true. Probably like when people do things, they're like, well, they did. They meant. It's kind of like they meant well. They have a good
right.
heart. Yeah.
It was like A+ forever. They had a good heart.
Yes.
They had a good heart.
Kudos.
Which I just feel like it's just in life. Like, I feel like some people do stuff they don't want to, but they had a good heart. Like, they actually, like, honestly, actually had a good heart. Like,
Well, yeah.
they were a loving person. It's just,
Space.
yeah. It's just, I mean, like, you work with people in addiction, and these women are such beautiful women.
Yes.
And stuff. Like, you see it. They don't see it, but they also have, like, such a beautiful, like, they honestly do have a beautiful heart. Like, there is
Yes.
a truth to the silly saying, but, like,
It's absolutely true.
right? Like, these.
And they may not even realize it. And the thing is that some of them may have been through and even done
Mhm.
terrible things.
Mhm. Right.
And they are like beating themselves up, haunted by the things that they've done.
Right.
And they truly do have a good heart. And they don't even know it about themselves, because
Right.
all they can see is the mistakes they've made and the bad that they've done.
Right.
And so that's what they are to
Yeah.
them. And so I agree. It's an important thing to remember about
Yeah.
people, is that
Right.
a lot of people do have a good heart.
They do.
And so trying to put that first.
Right.
Like, well, meanwhile they're probably just having a day.
Right. Yeah. They're going through some stuff.
Life is not happening for them right now.
Right.
and
Life
so,
is life. And
Yeah, and it does do that. And so
it does.
it's doing it right now.
Right. It is. It is. Amen to that. Amen to that. Oh, gosh. Oh. life. Sorry, I was thinking, ugh.
Yeah, no, totally. Don't watch the news. It'll
Right?
just upset you.
All kinds. Yeah, I try not to watch the news. I live with my in-laws, and I think one, I don't watch the news, and I don't really go on. I go on Instagram to promote this, and sometimes to see people. But she'll try to talk to me about the news, and she'd be like, "Oh, so you don't know who this person is? You don't?" I'm like,
Nope.
"No, I don't. Like, I just don't. Like, I was."
And my life is fuller without that.
Right? It is. Well, I just also like it's not bad to educate yourself, and
No.
it's not bad to know what's going on. Like that's not what I'm trying to say.
No,
Like,
not at all.
don't. But like one, if you watch the news, it's either you subscribe to either view and stuff, and I don't think
Yes.
that. And then they just nail that in,
Yeah.
and then there's just like constantly like. And if you constantly someone be like, this person's bad, this is why they're bad, this is bad. Like even if you're trying not to, if you sit and just listen to that,
You will be. It will have an effect on your mind and your
It will.
thinking. It will. There's no way it won't.
and then you're out in the streets thinking everyone's bad.
Yes.
And kind of gonna get you. And I'm like, no one is trying to get you. No one, like, people mean well. That's the thing.
Yes.
And it's just like, but when they be watching TV and the news and all that and stuff, and then they don't want to even like go downtown because they think something crazy is going to happen.
Like a group mind kind of.
Right? And I'm just
mindset.
like, I can't. We can walk the streets. No one is going to bother you. No one's trying to hurt you.
Yeah.
Okay? Maybe if you're in a bad set of neighborhood at like midnight, but why are you out in midnight? Then it might be questionable.
Yeah,
but during,
absolutely.
you know what I mean? Like, come on. No one's trying to.
Most of the time, it's safe.
Right?
Actually,
I swear it
but
is.
when the illusion from other places is that it isn't, because my little sister lived in a smaller area.
Uh-huh.
When I first moved to Indianapolis, she'd be like, "Well, are you gonna get shot?" And I'd be like, "I didn't move to where do you think I live?"
Right?
I don't live in a war zone. I mean,
Right.
I know it's a city, but it's not that. It's not like that.
Right.
And I think that the illusion, because of the news,
Right.
is that it is.
Right.
Having said that, my car did get shot on New Year's. Like I wasn't in it.
Were you was it midnight?
I probably.
I told you not to be places at midnight. I told you.
My car was outside at midnight. Shouldn't have been.
Right? I'm just saying, like, I understand.
Yeah, but it was late at night. Right. And people were shooting.
Right.
But I was in bed.
Right? That's the thing, though. Like, I get it. Like, I see it. If you're midnight, you're out in like 38th Street. Okay.
Yeah,
There
no.
might be something, like you have there's a little more truth to that statement. But if it's like 4:00 in the afternoon and I'm walking, like the other day I got gas over like, I don't know, by Dove.
Mhm.
So in that area and stuff.
Yeah.
And I had the kids.
And it's dark.
It's dark. And I was like, but I had the kids. And honestly, like, I don't know if it's because I just worked with like a working at Methodist, I saw a whole different population. But I'm like, no one's going to bother me. Like, I'm going to get gas. No one's bothering.
If you're minding your business,
Yeah.
more often than not, they're not going to.
I have a minivan. Like, I don't think they're going to. Like, I'm not trying. Like, I'm getting gas. That's it. If I'm minding my business, and I told like a mom friend, and she was like, "Oh my God, what?" I was like, "No one's gonna bother me." And if they do, like, I mean, like, I don't know. I mean, it sounds bad, but like the Lord, I'm hoping the Lord carries me through it. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, but these are also people.
I don't think it's not like you're just standing out here like looking at the sky,
right.
leaving your children exposed with the doors unlocked, and you've opened a door for
Right.
strangers to grab them if they'd like. And you're not just out here just like totally one brain cell.
Right.
You're an aware person. You're watching your surroundings. And you need to stop
And
in
get
an
gas.
area that may not be the bestest area, but as long as you're vigilant and minding your business,
Right.
you will likely be fine.
Yeah.
And
I
that's what
was.
it is, I think, the requirement for vigilance. But then if you think about it, it's just because it's a larger area. Those
Right.
same things or worse happen in much smaller communities because there's no one around and it's so quiet.
Right.
And you could just snatch someone from a gas station because it's late at night and no one will see you and there are no cameras on
Right.
every street corner because it's the city.
Right.
So like to me, I'm like, oh, the city is dangerous. I feel like
Right.
the country could be far more dangerous.
Right.
I'm like, that's where I would hide a body.
Right.
If I, you
Oh
know,
my God,
so
right. No, so true. That.
I feel like the country is more dangerous
Right.
than the city. But
Right.
that the concept from the news is that it isn't. It's
No.
the opposite.
It's true. Right.
Mhm.
Mm.
Lost
Right.
with all the people.
Right. But yeah, no, it's just so crazy how people have, I mean, with like us going off on the news. But
We'll just do a couple more tangents and then
right.
we'll be
It's
done.
just right. It's just misconceptions. People just, I mean, they just like you said, we put people in boxes kind of.
Yeah.
We like to, I mean, I think human nature likes to also define like you have to, like, I feel like us just humans want to be like, okay, you're in this box, we're in this box. And, like,
it's a song.
is this a
Little
song?
boxes on the hillside.
Oh, it
little
is.
boxes filled with ticky tacky.
It
It
is.
creeps me out, that song,
It is
actually.
a
It was
creepy
on a
song.
horror
I know,
movie
that's what it was. I was like, why does this sound like it's...
But it also is real.
Right.
Like, we love it. We like to put labels on ourselves.
We
separate.
do.
I'm in this group.
Right.
Makes me feel like I'm a part of, but by being a part of, we've separated.
Right. Uh-huh.
Mhm.
It is. And that's your work, to show people that,
That
you're more
we've-
than these boxes.
Absolutely. That we are a whole group of people, like human people,
Mhm.
and we all are having different experiences, and we all think we're right.
Right. Oh my God.
And I think that that's part of the problem. Like, I'm not really concerned so much with being right anymore. I used to love to be right.
Right.
And I had someone tell me, they said, you would rather be right than happy. And that's like, I was like, and I wanted to argue with her about it. But how do you argue? Like, oh, I'm about to be right about this one. Like, she had me too. And I was like, she had my number. And I was like, she might be onto something. And I really had to explore that.
Mm-hmm.
And since then, I've said that to other people.
Right.
Because it's true.
It
like,
is.
the need to control, the need to be right, the need to be the best, the need a perfectionism kind of thing that a lot of us do have. We just have to be right. And it's like, but that desire is what's poisoning us.
Mm-hmm.
And it's poisoning us all. And I see it all over the internet, and they're like, well, if people would just do this, or they're living, that's why this country is. And I'm like, yes, their one lifestyle is the reason that the entire United States is in the toilet. You're on it.
Right.
If we could just get them to stop doing what they're doing, everything would be better.
Right.
And it's like, that's preposterous. Don't you hear yourself? If you would actually just mind your business, things might get better. If we all did, if we all only helped those who wanted our help and stopped sticking our noses
in other people's business.
I think so. I mean, that's just my personal tangent on that. I really feel like if I want to be nosy, I do my job. My job is to be up in people's lives. They come to Dove House. They ask me to be up in their life. They're like, hey, come be nosy in my life. Help me with my life.
Yeah.
Otherwise, other people are not asking me for that. So I need to like stay out of their business in their life, or trying to judge them. Because then it makes me think like, I might be trying to think I'm better than them, or like, why do I need to know about their life so that I can judge it, and so that I can decide that mine's better or worse than it? That doesn't help me.
Right.
That doesn't help me be my best version. So I try not to do it.
Right.
So
I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
I get it.
yeah.
I get it.
You picking up what I'm putting down?
I got all kinds of... No, I can't pick up your guy. I do have a question, and I'm trying to think how to phrase this.
Sure.
I do get, because I do, like, I feel like you lead with love. You're leading with love, and you're letting people, and the people that do come see you, they do have a problem and stuff. I'm just curious, George, and this is not trying to, like, I'm trying to say this not in, like, a heart of, like, conviction. I'm just actually curious,
just
George.
say it however.
Okay, I'm gonna say it, girl. How do you establish, like, like absolute truth? Because there's some stuff. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, there's some stuff that can be subjective.
Yeah.
But there's some stuff that, like,
I don't know about that word, absolute truth.
well, yeah, talk to me.
Like, because people have their truth.
Right. That's what. Yeah.
And so people walk in like their truth. People are living in delusions, and that may very well be their truth.
Yeah.
They're lying to themselves. That may still be their truth in that moment, because they don't know it. And so I don't know about the word absolute truth. I think that when it comes to what I'm doing, I believe that human beings are worthy of my time.
Oh yeah, no, definitely.
And the work that I'm doing. I know that is absolutely like, there are certain things that are absolute truths.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying,
but
like,
not like as a, you know what I mean? Like, for us as people, I don't know if we have any.
Yeah.
But I think like society wise, maybe there are some. Yeah. Like and other people may disagree with me, because I read something that said that other people don't believe like everyone should have shelter and food and water.
Right. That's just
and I believe
sandwich.
that's to me that's an absolute truth, that every person deserves to eat and drink and be clothed and be sheltered from the weather. I believe that that's just absolute truth.
Yeah. No. Okay.
And some people are like, yeah, no, we don't believe that. I'm like, okay, well then I guess
those people.
That's an opinion. It's my opinion.
Right. Yeah.
So, I don't know on that. When I think about it,
Right.
it confuses me a little.
Yeah, but I think absolutely. But like I do think that, I guess it's like that is very tricky. That's why I was like, I don't know how to put this. I'm not trying. But yeah, so I think what I'm getting is that like you see people as human beings, and they definitely need like shelter and stuff. Like they're human beings.
Yeah,
I mean, like I feel the same way. They're made in the image of God.
yeah.
We all have God stamped on us. So definitely we need to meet people's basic needs.
And we
so,
all have, and then when you said that meet people with love, like you said, you think all people deserve. And my brain immediately tried to contradict you inside my head, because my brain was like, "Well, remember that guy on that true crime podcast? They were talking about you because but there are limits for every human being, like a bias or a line for many people. Like we all have our line, I think too." And so I'm not just going to sit on here and be like, "Oh, I'm just a saint."
Yeah.
We all have our line.
Yeah.
There are demographics of people, populations that I'm not going to probably go run out to work with, because I would struggle in serving them.
Yeah. That makes sense.
People who have harmed other people.
Yeah.
People who have harmed children.
All right. Oh, yes. Oh, my gosh.
That might be hard for me. I'm not saying that those people don't necessarily deserve to
Right.
have help. I'm just saying I'm not the one that will be helping them, because I know that the bias I have against them cannot be overcome.
That is very true.
And so knowing myself is also a huge part. Like that's a truth for me. Is I can work with certain demographics of people. I love people. There's a lot of people I want to help.
All
There are
right.
certain people that there's lines that I can't step over into, and there are people who can, and I commend them for their ability to meet people with unconditional positive regard despite the things that they may have done. I think I think that humans do deserve it.
Oh, yeah.
I do. Even when because something's broken somewhere. And I'm talking about like monstrous people.
Yeah,
like,
no.
That sometimes it's hard to see
All right.
them as a human person
All right.
because
Oh,
of
no.
the things that have happened. My wife likes to listen to true crime podcasts. I said I listen to podcasts. I listen with her, and so they're always about like people who've done horrendous things. And so
Right.
when I'm thinking about how much I love humanity,
Right.
and I'm like, not I
There is
I
those
struggle
people.
for there's a section of people who have done horrible things to other human beings, and I'm the type of person who really hates injustice.
Yeah.
And I hate to see people be harmed and suffer. And so for humans who cause other humans suffering, that's difficult for me.
Right.
I struggle there. So I'm not a saint. There are people who I don't want anything to do with, and I don't want to help them. I'm not saying necessarily that they don't deserve help. I'm just saying they ain't gonna get it from me.
Right. But I love that you still see them as a person. I mean, I feel the same way. Like, I don't know, like I always think of like John 3:16, for God so loved the world, he gave,
Yes.
but like he died for all those people. Like,
Yes.
if you, it's
hard.
it's a verse that people just throw around all the time, and I hate it, because if you sit down and actually think about it, like the Lord died for these monstrous people, like these people
Those are someone's children.
yeah. And that's what, but like I feel the same way. Like I think the Lord hasn't called me to try to have like, I mean, one, serial killers are in jail, but like someone that would like molest a kid or something.
Yeah.
Like I feel like children just need to be like protected.
Yes.
And that stuff, it's hard to see. Like when I used to work in the hospital and stuff in labor and delivery, we had some like incest cases and stuff like that. And it's hard to like that
to even understand.
to understand, and then to talk to like the mom, like it's just, but like you, or like see the dad, that's the dad, but also the dad, you know what I mean? Like it's just like, right there and stuff. And it's like, like there was one time I was like, when you are free, can someone please take my my patient? Like, cause I just can't, like, I can't give them the care because I just
can't do this.
I can't do this. Like, it's just all, like I've done for 8 hours. I honestly, like, if I was to continue taking care of this person, I wouldn't be able to give I can give the care to the patient, but then like it's also you got other people around. Stuff.
Well, and that's a huge part of of serving anyone else is knowing your limits too. Like, because you're going to harm someone if you don't.
Yeah.
So knowing your biases, knowing where your lines are drawn, exploring your biases, being curious.
Yeah.
About that, like, why do I feel that way?
Oh, yeah.
Kind of thing. Where did that come from? And so obviously, you know, I know where
Right.
where it comes from, where I'm like, well, if you've murdered people and, you know,
Yeah.
chopped them up in little pieces, I don't really want to, you know, be in your presence. Well, I
Right.
mean, that's kind of a human like normalcy,
Yeah,
but there are
right.
other biases I have for certain people, and I have to explore those and be curious about those, because those may harm someone in my work. And, you know, and I may not always work with women. And so I have some trauma around, you know, I'm married to a woman. I have some trauma around relationships with men. I am a bisexual woman, but and I'm in a female relationship. And so I have a tendency to, I joke with my friends about being a man hater. But I have some biases because of trauma is what
Yeah.
it is, truly. And so I have to be vigilant and mindful of those things, because sometimes I need to interact with people. And I have a lot of, you know, male friends who are close to me, and I love them, and they're wonderful people. And I don't hate men. But I've had experiences with some men where I'm like, God, that was just a terrible experience, and I never want to experience that again. And so it's traumatized me.
Yeah.
And so a bias develops from that.
Yeah.
And so that's a good way to kind of figure out where your biases are too, is to kind of be like, well, who's hurt me in my life, and do I feel some sort of or a positive bias, like who has been amazing to me, or who do I feel closest to?
Right.
Are there like a bias I have? Women who have been homeless, who have got caught up in sex trafficking, who do not have family support in their active use, and they're trying to escape it. I tend to have a positive bias for them. I just want, my heart bleeds for them. I know their journey so well, you know? And so when people come and their mom and their dad are bringing them to treatment, and their aunts and uncles are calling, and they show up, and they've bought them all brand new everything
Right.
for their first day of treatment, and they've got all these totes, and they have brand new packs of underwears and socks, and I've got girls I got to go scrounge up things for. And
Yeah.
so the positive and negative bias on either side of that can develop. And so I have to be aware of that when I serve these women, so that I'm not giving less to this woman because, oh, well, you just have so much.
Right.
In
Yeah.
my perspective.
Right.
Watching my perspective of how I view people
Right.
is a big part of it.
Right. I know it's so crazy how your like upbringing or how you grew up can also, yeah, like the trauma you've been to, how much it does. Like I mean, I'm just echoing what you're saying. Yeah. That
No, but it's real.
It's so real. But you also, I love that you've set and identified that and not be like, I'm just, you know, like I've had trauma with men and I'm just like, no, every man is viewed through this lens and
Yes.
stuff. But that you've realized that, you've looked into it and be like, these are also human beings and not every person is like this.
Right. Like I
Right.
have to watch putting that little monocle over my eye when I look at people.
Right.
And making sure that I'm seeing them with a clear view. And then I'm not kind of putting a scope over it because of the things that I've been through.
Right.
And that's what you said, like when you read about me on the internet, but you didn't want to know too much.
Right.
So like sometimes people will call me about my ladies. They'll be like, well, let me tell you about, and I'm like, I don't need you to tell me about.
Right.
I don't want you to tell me about, because I want to learn everything I'm going to learn
Right.
from this person,
Yeah.
about this person, from this person. Like I need to learn and observe and kind of figure out, and anything you tell me might taint that, because that's your perspective of them. That's not necessarily what I'm going to see.
Yeah.
And it could taint my view. And so I'm really big on like, I want to experience them at face value without like input from other people of what they're going to be like or what they are like or who, because there's also possible a taint of stigma on that as well. And so, and very often there is when if they do go ahead and not stop, because some of them are like, well, you're going to hear me.
Right.
And they start talking before I can get them off the phone. And it's very stigmatizing, the things that they want me to know. And it's like, well, if you want me to know that this person has done terrible things and made a lot of mistakes, well, I know, because they're at the Duff House now to get better. And so people don't come here because they're doing great.
Right.
Like it's, it's not a reason that people come to the place I work.
Right.
And they're doing great when they leave there. And that's beautiful. And together we do great work. Me and the ladies and the team all together, like they're a part of it. They do great work. The women come through the doors. They embrace what's been offered to them, and they do great work. And I just get to be a part of it. Really.
Right.
And it's awesome.
I know that's beautiful that you do. I mean, like, because when I did Wendy's interview, I was at Dove and stuff, and I loved the little area. I mean, I heard all the ladies out there and stuff. Travis had a great time editing that because it was all the ladies cackling and all that stuff.
I'm sure it was fun.
But it was fun. But yeah, I do. I love what you guys do, and it's just so, like, crazy, I mean, how successful it is, but it's also because you guys have such a great team and there's so much like community and belonging there. I
Yeah.
can feel like I haven't gone
Yes.
through the thing, but
It really is. Like, when you walk through the doors, people tend to say, like, that they can feel the community atmosphere in the house,
mhm,
and that they can feel the love even though they aren't there every day. And then the women who come, it's so wonderful to watch them transform. They come through the doors and they're on edge and they're afraid and they're nervous, and the women just embrace them, most of the time,
yeah,
embrace them, and it just turns into this, it blossoms into friendships, and then you just see that person that was nervous smiling and laughing and being a part of, and then you start to see them thrive and grow, and then next thing you know, you blink and you were looking at this brand new person,
all right,
and they did it all. They truly did it all, and you just got to be like there to like help, like tell them a thing or two sometimes when they're or bounce things off of you,
mhm,
like a sounding board, the mirror.
uh-huh,
You get to be there to reflect them to themselves, and then at the end you get to watch them grow, and then they go on and they leave you and they just continue to grow and do amazing things, and it could almost make me cry because it's a wonderful life. It's one of the
right,
best things I ever chose for myself, to become a part of, recovery work and to work at Dove House. And I think one day, like, I'm working on getting my goal is to get my master's degree,
mhm,
and all of that. And I'm about to graduate in May with my BSW. And I'm like, well, I need to like work somewhere else one day. Like, should I? People are like, you should work somewhere else. Like, and I'm like, but I really love my
yeah,
job, like so much. And like, that financially, I have worked, like I've grown in my position
mhm,
there. I started out as a resident assistant. And then I moved into peer coaching, and now, I'm a peer supervisor,
right,
peer team lead there. And so there's been growth opportunities granted to me, and let's be real, I started out as a resident.
right,
I was a resident of Dove House for 17 months.
right,
I lived there, and I was hard-headed.
mhm. That's what I heard. Stephanie told me.
I told the ladies, I tell them all the time, it's a joke, but it's really not. They don't know that it's a joke. The team that works at Dove House now would have discharged me because like the way I acted, like the previous Dove House team, like they just really put up maybe a lot more crap
Mhm,
than they probably should have.
yeah,
But we were a smaller place. We were in like an old house, and things were a little different. And so things have shifted as Dove House has grown
mhm,
and become more professional and just, skyrocketed as far as like trying to help women all
right,
over the state and have more locations. We need to make sure we're holding a specific standard of what's acceptable.
yeah.
And so I'm like, this team would have not put up with my crap. I already know better. They'd been like, she has to move out.
Right. The Lord knew to need a dove at that time. And not
Absolutely.
now,
He knew what
right?
was right for me.
He
He was
knew.
getting me ready so that I could be the one to be like, well, we don't do that here.
Right. That is not what we're doing.
No,
here.
no, we don't act like that here.
Right. Oh my God. That is
It feels
hilarious.
weird sometimes to be that one.
Right.
When I was previously the one who was like, she stole my charger, I'm going to beat her up.
Right. I could see that potential in you.
Yeah,
I'm not
no,
gonna lie. could
I
see
was
that.
very angry. And
Uh-huh.
so when anyone would do anything to me, I'd be like yelling, I would cuss a lot. And
Mhm.
so now I'm a pretty calm person. I
You seem-
handle my anger very well most of the time. And so the ladies, we joke about like that the other version of me, but like they've never seen her.
Right.
They've never met her. They
Right.
don't know what she's capable of. Like, she was crazy. And we keep her just at rest. She's happy and healthy now. We feed her, hydrate her. So, so that she doesn't like snap and throw chairs.
Right. Oh my God. Have you thrown a chair before?
That's actually why I say they would discharge me. I threw a chair on the back patio. I'd gotten mad about something somebody said to me, like my best friend that didn't live at the house had texted something to me about we weren't going to be friends anymore. It was so childish. And I was like furious. And I like got up out of the chair I was sitting in, picked it up and threw it across the like back patio
my gosh.
area.
I love
There was
this.
like a swing set back there.
This is getting
And the
like-
girl sitting across from me smoking a cigarette was like, what's wrong with you? I actually got my kittens from her.
Oh, it's fine. Now she's cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
now she's giving
We're
you
good
kids.
friends. Like,
Yeah.
I grew from that moment. Like, those people got to watch me like develop, and they
Right.
like from a person who like was angry and always yelling into a person who would like think about it a little bit or
Right.
like walk away. Like, that was my first step. Was
Right.
walk away because you don't know how to handle your anger, so you can't
Right.
have this conversation. And then I built on that.
Yeah.
But I remember like people would do things and I would be working on my anger and they're talking to me and I got like these plate of cookies and they're talking to me about the cookies and I'm like, I'm about to throw these cookies at the wall.
Yeah. Right. But you recognize
And then I
it.
didn't do it.
Yeah.
And I set the cookies down and I'm like, I'm going to go to my room because I'm upset.
Right. But I think also, I mean, now I'm about to go down a rabbit hole. A short one, though. I think it's a lot of life is that the cookie situation where you're like, I want to throw these cookies, but you didn't.
Yeah.
I think life is about,
I thought about it.
there's nothing wrong about thinking about it. It's that next action.
Yeah.
And I think that, I mean, just that decision probably.
Well, the pause.
Yeah.
There was no pause before.
Right.
And so when part of my anger management was learning the pause, because there would be anger, nothing in between. The pause to contemplate a behavior, nothing happened there. I'd just do the thing.
Right.
And so the pause was where at first was just walk away. That's the creating a space for something else to happen.
Yeah.
So when people would get me upset and I felt anger, I would be like, it would be rude. I would turn foot and walk away from them mid-sentence. And because that was how I learned to create a pause anyway.
Right.
Because I couldn't pause. I'd be like, I'm going to punch her in the face.
Right.
And so I'm going to walk away. I'm going to walk away from the situation because that's what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
And so eventually building on that, it would be like, okay, you're making me angry. Take a breath, pause. Here's what I think. Here's what I should do. Okay, I'm going to walk away. I'm upset.
Yeah.
And so I started to be able to articulate that I was angry and things like that. And so it was like practice.
Yeah.
And so when people are like, well, I'm an angry person, I can't change, or people say that all the time, I can't change. You can.
Oh.
And you just really have to want to, for one.
Yeah.
And you can't give up. You will continue to do, like, you're going to go backwards into the same old behavior. You're going to slip back. And then you're going to keep trucking along because it's important to you to be different.
Right.
It was important to me to not be angry. And I'm also, I'm mixed. So I don't want to be the angry Black woman. And that happens. Like, people, when I lose my temper, people are like, whoa, 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 oh my gosh. And she's upset. Like, everybody grab your
And then that
purse.
just makes it worse too.
Yeah. And now I'm more mad because, now I feel whatever. And so it helps me. It helps other people. It helps me be a professional. It helps me be received and taken seriously. And so controlling my anger was huge for me. And I think that's important to say because there may be some people are like, I can't change this thing about myself. And like, if you're late all the time, maybe you can't change that, honey, because I can't change it.
Yeah, that's in your DNA.
But like, if you're angry all the time, chances are that can be changed and it can be overcome. And with practice and with therapy, like, why are you angry? I had to get some therapy. I had to find out why I was angry and get to the bottom of it. And there was a lot of stuff. And I'm happy all the time. It's sick. It's a little sickening.
You're like, I'm so annoyed with myself. Why
Yeah,
am I
like
so
sometimes
happy?
I'm just so happy it's ridiculous. And it's like, because I used to, when I said I turned 18 and I feel like I was the saddest teenager that ever lived.
Right.
Well, today I'm 38 years old and I swear I'm just so happy and optimistic of a person. Everything's going to be okay.
Right.
And I have faith in that because I've seen it play out so many times. And it's this journey of giving myself to other people, like giving part of me away and not making everything about me, not being selfish is why I'm happy.
Right.
And it's so weird.
It is.
Like
isn't
the
it?
key to happiness is being there for other people and not thinking about yourself so much.
Right.
Like, of course you're going to think about yourself.
Yeah. Because
But
we're
like,
human.
But like getting out of yourself and doing something for another person, like it makes you feel great.
It does.
And it makes you want to do it again. And the next thing you know, you don't think about yourself all the time. And if you're not thinking about yourself all the time, then you're not thinking about the things about yourself you don't like.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're not completing that cycle.
Right.
And then you're not digging a hole.
Right. Gee, girl, Kristy, I think we're going to have to end on that one. That was
Okay,
a
I
good
think we might have actually. That was a good one,
Right? I think the Lord just had you say that because that was a perfect ending.
He does that.
He does that sometimes. He's crazy sometimes. He be joking. He's a jokester.
Yes, he's got a good sense of humor.
He does. It's where you got yours from.
I agree. Yes.
All right, everyone. Thank you, Kristy, so much.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you for like telling your story and just getting to know you. Like it was beautiful.
Well, I hope I did a good job. So
I think you did. I get A+.
Okay, awesome.
You have a good heart.
Okay, 3.9 GPA. A+ is what I like.
All right. All right. Thank you, everyone. This is Image Bearers, and I'm your host, Lacey Connor. Bye.